gotta leave it to the professionals.
Last by Bundy, blah, blah, blah.
Started off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, yo, set it up.
Surfing on the web and I'm shooting at 3. I've been goated when I got my G. I'm an alien boy from a different planet, yeah. So I got my drink, I'm riding in the 1920s Model T Ford. Call her Era Lord. Call me Levi, playing on the keys, boy. And I'm about to put my gloves on. If I said it, then I meant that. Yeah, I like that one, I'm about to get that. Crash that whip for the drumsticks, whiplash. I'm about to get them all. Are you with that? In a white boat, surrounded by blue. I want one, but I got a cop too. I wanna fly high in the sky, arms out wide, trying to soar from a bird's eye view. I'm on fire, Ricky, Bobby, cracking the pavement, Whitney, Bobby. I'm a Saki bomb, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Bruce Wayne been a dog, and I keep it 101, cause I'm feeling kinda spotty. You sipping on some rock and I'm sipping on Octane. The only thing around my neck is the
Started off with a
blockchain.
bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, yo, set it up.
NFT, Twitter, blockchain. Seeing with the ghosts and we ballin' like the Brown James. Crypto. We can make a trade, get the memo. Reviews not falling for the FOMO. Listening to Coffee with Captain. You know we worldwide, they loco. I ain't never gonna stop rapping. Orlando, yeah, we working magic. We rocking Ethereum entities. I just went and caught me a half base. Man, I got a shout out
Started
to
off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, yo, set it up.
Freaking the mood to choose one, but they got knowledge to move, son. I'm shocking in shades with my brother in shoes. Yeah, them blues is coming. Even though it's hard to pick, eeny, mighty, mo, soda on the mix, no biting lips, it's time to go. Index number 1, no thumbs up, you gotta scroll. Looking at the ghost in studio, it's time to go. Had a helmet on by myself until I met a mask that wanted to have a face off. So had to bring my chainsaw, full tank of gas in the drive with my brakes off. I'm A1, but a different kind of steak sauce.
Welcome to Coffee with Captain, powered by ApeCoin, where we dive into all things crypto, NFTs, Web3, and cutting-edge technology. Remember, nothing here is financial advice. Early-stage tech can be exceptionally volatile and risky. So grab your coffee and join Cap and Steve for today's conversation.
Welcome to the future.
Welcome to Coffee with Captain. GM, thanks so much for joining us. If you haven't done so, just fair drops a GM in the chat down below. Then head up top, smash that like, repost, and bookmark on today's space. We'd greatly appreciate it. Warms up the algo and does us a real solid. You'll also find the link to the YouTube chat. Actually, you won't find that up there. You got to go over to the YouTube streets to find us in YouTube. Shout out to Von Front and all the YouTube GMers over there. But you will find the abstract feed up top as well as the X video. Appreciate the love on each and all of those, as well as the carousel for the reminders for the rest of the week. We're going to throw it back today. A little old school Coffee with Captain. Only the real OGs will remember solo cap mode. So as always, stage is open. If anyone wants to join the conversation, welcome to come up. But back to 2021, the early days of Cap and Steve. There was no Steve, just Cap. And we just jumped online and talked about what's happening today. So with intent went co-hostless today. Steve is doing good. He's just out. Well, I hope he's doing good. He got a little under the weather at NFT NYC. So he's recouping, but on a family vacation, was going to be out this week. No proper space to host. So he'll be back with us next week. We'll bring some co-hosts on the remainder of the week. Just wanted to do an old school solo show today to test some stuff. So as always, stage is open. Anyone wants to join the conversation, feel free to jump up. We'll see how it goes. We may go the full 2 hours. We may cut it, 60, 90 minutes in. I don't know. We'll see. Back when we first started, it was really a 60-minute show. And then it grew. Our first, actually, shout out to Drew Crit. Our guy Drew was the first co-host Coffee with Captain. Jumped up probably for the first, several weeks. Then got busy with life. Then Steve jumped in early, maybe late December, early January 2022. and the show extended to about 90 minutes. At the time, I was still transitioning the last venture, working for the corporate conglomerate, and we often would have a Zoom meeting, or I had a one-on-one with our, my handler there at 9:30. So if you've been around for a while, you used to hear me say I had to shift gears around 9:30, and then Steve would take us home till 10 o'clock. And fortunately, last year I was able to finally step away from the corporate chains, and the 9:30 shifting gears became no longer an issue. But yes, 69 Pingu back up to $1. We are back. Appreciate all the tippers. My Abstract Global wallet is, it's mostly Pingu. So yeah, it's up 50-60% in the last week. I don't know if that's a precise number. I don't follow it closely. It's funny. Speaking of Steve, I will, he makes fun of me because I never look at the price. It's not something I'm trading. And I will, when we're both here, we alternate the abstract streams. And it's funny, like pre-show, I'll log into my abstract portal, and some days I'm like, oh my goodness, Pingu must have been running, because I'm a little, especially after a weekend where it's like, oh, it was, 40% less on Friday when I looked at it, and I log in on Monday morning and it's been on a ripper. So that is my barometer for Pingu, is my portal on Abstract, and looking at that Abstract Global wallet. As always, before I see Joey jumped up, got a hand. We'll get you here in a second. As always, we'll get the disclaimers out of the way real quick. I'm Cap, joined co-host list today. But as always, never any financial advice in the show. Crypto is risky, NFTs are risky, meme coins, exception risk, go to zero to most notice. Even, believe it or not, tokenized stocks also risky, and probably not go to zero to moment's notice, but don't put any money you can't afford to lose. Know that I hold tokens we're going to talk about here today, as well as some of our guests. Not a financial advisor, certainly not your financial advisor. And we're going to be talking about some financial markets today for sure. So please do your own research. And as always, just don't put any money, don't overextend yourself. Nothing is a guarantee. And like I said, just always for some fun, some information and some education along the way. That said, Joey, we still got like 8 minutes cold open time left. Feel free to take it wherever you'd like. GM, thanks for jumping up.
Thank you, everybody. So you mentioned the tips and stuff. So I got a Facebook message from my brother-in-law over the weekend. He's not a big crypto guy, not an NFT guy. But he follows, and he knows that I'm big into it, and sometimes he'll hit me up. And I got a message, a DM was like, I see Pangu is ripping. You must be happy. You're doing well. So does that mean we're officially back when like somebody who's not in the space is messaging you about a meme coin ripping?
Especially if it's a meme coin, yes. I think especially if it's not Bitcoin. Maybe we're not fully back, but I'm going to change the title now, because I think I have an interesting, seems like the minority, maybe contrarian take on tokenizing stocks. My sense in just scanning the timeline the last 24 hours, if you missed it yesterday, big Robinhood announcement, followed by Kraken announcement, followed by basically the world is coming on chain. As we've speculated, like our time is here. Everyone is coming to our DGen casino. I kid, but kind of not. Robinhood announced they're tokenizing stocks, not only public stocks. What I think the most exciting part of yesterday's announcements was the tokenizing of public companies like SpaceX and OpenAI. That's really exciting, I feel. But I saw a lot of takes where it's bearish, that all these stocks coming on chain is just going to suck out the liquidity from meme coins and alts. And while I don't disagree that there may be somewhat of a flight to quality, or we maybe see, certainly there's going to be some shift. I just think, like, long term, we talked about, yesterday, how powerful liquidity is. And as more and more of the world comes to us, or the TradFi institutions like Coinbase and Robinhood start bringing us to them, it's instead of our small corner of the internet and small corner of the financial market, all of a sudden we just become a part of the massive financial market. I think my take is this is very bullish for on quality on-chain tokens, because I think more people, when today, just like, and I'm probably ignorant when it comes to, I am ignorant when it comes to international residents' ability to trade U.S. stocks. I know they can do it. I also know they can't. It's not as simple as just going and creating an E-Trade account. So like if anyone, actually any Europeans in the audience want to help educate me on this, I would love the assistance. If you want to throw in a request, I don't think it's just as, I think they have to actually go through a broker. I think there's a lot of, my understanding is there is a lot of friction there. And so I think it's kind of like years ago, we used to like take currency on chain for granted here in the States. Like, because most of us don't worry about, especially before the great debanking of Silicon Valley in crypto, most of us don't worry about the ability to simply transact. That's not the case globally. There's a lot of countries that it's just not that easy. And especially if there's some conflict and you got to escape, like the ability to have self-sovereignty over your funds, have it on chain, like it's a big deal. And I think similarly, we here in the States may take for granted, oh, well, what's the big deal? Stocks are coming on chain. It's just going to be less degen money. I don't think so. I think it's going to open up. Actually, I think that I'm open to being completely wrong here too, by the way. This is not an area of my expertise by any stretch of the imagination. Just my opinions. I think it's very bullish for US stocks. I think the market of potential buyers and investors just went from primarily those in the US and sophisticated international individuals, probably those of already extreme high net worth, to now all of a sudden people who were grinding Axie Infinity in the Philippines, they can now be buying SpaceX and OpenAI and Tesla stock. Like, maybe I'm naive and thinking they were already doing that. I'm guessing they were not. And I think, while you may say, what is the guy with $20 USD in his wallet going to do for Tesla stock? Maybe nothing. I just think that, for one, I think it's more inclusive. Like, it opens up the financial markets to more those than just US residents. I'm still kind of not fully aware of like how this works legally.
You don't have to be a US resident to buy. You don't have to be a US citizen or resident to buy US stock. You can literally while you were talking, I did a quick search. It says non-US citizens can buy US stocks. There are no laws preventing foreigners from investing in US companies. Non-US citizens can open brokerage accounts with US-based or international brokers to trade US stock.
I know this. I know it's not illegal. I think there's friction. I don't think it's easy today. Like, if I'm near certain a European just can't go and open up an E-Trade account. Robinhood, they apparently can, right? But maybe it's not that big a deal and it's very easy. I just have been under the impression that there's a little bit of friction. There's probably a lot of fees. And I think this opens up to, the reality is does. On chain, it opens up to the entire global market. There is no barriers, no restrictions, unless they have some sort of geofencing, geogating. Von Frunten says, I'm really excited about the possibility of blockchain opening up equity markets of privately held companies to more people. This was the most exciting part of the announcement to me yesterday, because everyone for obvious reasons, people get really excited about SpaceX and OpenAI. It's two of the hottest companies that you can't get access to today until yesterday. I still question, how the hell is it legal? Like, and I don't know, I'll try to tap my attorney friend Von Frunten, if you're able to join us. How is it legal? Like, how can you now trade stocks, equities, securities without KYCing, where that was not, I think there's something, like, I'm missing some, probably very obvious, but is like, are Robinhood and Kraken and Republic, are they just plowing through the unknown, this gray area of like, oh, it's not illegal, so we just believe the administration is favorable and we're going to be allowed to do this? Or is there something I'm missing? Because if you're on chain, you're not KYCing, you don't, like, they have no idea if you're a accredited investor or not. And I was always under the impression, to participate in these private rounds, unless it's friends and family, like, they can't solicit to non-accredited investors. Again, I could be way off on this. I'm really curious. I think it's interesting, and I think it's a net bullish thing for all of crypto. Now, will we see some flight to quality? Will some of the memes, some of the alts get crushed if they start aggressively rotating into TradFi? Possibly. I think it's more akin to, we've been playing, in the casino, and all of a sudden a big giant bank with 0% interest just opened up inside the casino. I think it's just liquidity is going to come pouring on chain as more of the world comes on chain. Maybe I'm oversimplifying this, but let's go, Joey, go and get back in here, and then we'll go to Revolve Token.
Yeah, I'm on Team Cap with this one. I think this is really bullish for our space. I mean, for those of us that are already diversified, that invest in, mutual funds and stocks and things like that, think about how much easier it makes it for us when we participate in some type of airdrop or farm, and we get hit with a $10,000 stimmy, where previously our option was to convert that into USDC or Bitcoin or whatever. But now we have the option of, okay, hey, I'm going to take that $10,000, I'm going to buy 5,000 in Bitcoin, and I'm going to buy $5,000 of Tesla, and I don't have to transfer that to my Binance account or my Coinbase account or whatever, Kraken or whatever, and then I have to withdraw it, and then I wait for it to go through the withdrawal process and pay fees to withdraw it, and then it's got to hit my bank account, and then my bank account, I got to transfer it to my Fidelity or my Ameriprise or whatever, and then I got to go buy my Tesla stock. Like, to me, this is another step forward in the evolution of this space, and how we can continue to, number one, diversify our assets, and number two, onboard more people. Like, if you bought into Bitcoin at 50,000 last year, and now it's at 100, and you want to take profits and diversify, you can as like a traditional finance person, you don't have to do all that anymore. It's really simple with what they're doing with bringing stocks on chain. And I don't see how this doesn't become, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Greece, their stock exchange, if I remember, we talked about this a few months ago, and if I'm wrong, someone correct me. I think it was Greece. They're moving their whole stock exchange on chain, because of with immutable ledger that you can track and all that stuff like that. So I feel like this is a step into the direction of the future where we could see more exchanges move to using the blockchain because of the way the blockchain works, and the inability to quote unquote cheat the system. And number two, 24/7 trading on blockchain, right? Like, right now in the US, there's the market opens and then it closes, and then there's after hours, but not everybody has access. This could keep markets open 24/7, 365. It's awesome, I think.
Agreed. It's a great example of it's just a very clearly better product on chain than off chain, simply by the hours, going from banker's hours to 24/7, for many reasons. Like, that in itself, it's just a better product. Von Fretton, again, we're on the same page today. He's summing up my thoughts before I get them out. It says, here's what gets me most excited. On-chain equity ownership may also introduce a new way for startups to raise capital and give holders an actual stake in the company. Maybe we don't get there, but that's where my brain went as well. As soon as I heard the SpaceX and OpenAI, I was like, oh, this is it. This is where kind of what I thought was starting to happen with NFT company formation, or company formation around NFT mints in 2021. I thought we would get to this state. I can't say we didn't, because we did with Rec Brands, we did with The Plague, we did with Truth Labs. It's just, it had to be a gift. It had to be a surprise. They couldn't talk about it, which is a pretty valuable thing. If you want to market a token, an NFT, like, oh, this is going to get you equity, that's about the best piece of utility you could imagine, especially if the underlying brand is successful. I think this is like foreshadowing. Maybe it never happens, but I think this is the first step towards exactly this, to where forget Kickstarters and, oh, I'm going to do an NFT mint or an ICO, and then later I'm going to convert that to equity for my earliest supporters. Yeah, that's cool. You could still do that. I think we get into the point where we see straight up on-chain raises. and those earliest supporters are able to get into these companies at a ground floor. It's like I said it yesterday, and I think it was a reply to ICO Beast, who's been beating the drum like we're going to get an ICO season 2. My response was, oh, after this, like how long do we go from ICO season 2 to IPOs on chain? And I think it's what I don't even know what you would like. Yeah, that's going to happen. You will see public offerings on chain. I think we'll also see private offerings on chain. I know we can't yet today, but it feels like that's where we're heading, and this gets me really excited. Revolve Token GM, thanks for jumping up. What brought you up today?
What's up, guys? Thanks for hosting. I've been listening, obviously, in the space. We're pretty new. We're coming out from the real estate side. I'm Zach, CEO, co-founder, and just want to say thanks, Cap, for hosting and everything else. And you guys are awesome to listen to. But I wanted to jump in and say, yeah, you're 100% right on being bullish in this space. One of the things I see as far as adoption from the real world, we call Web 2 to Web 3, which is something we're focusing on in the real estate space. But when you start talking about like EFTs and you start talking about like stocks and things of that nature, what we see is how do we get the Web 2 adoptability? And I think the big money comes when we can get Web 2 users not using Web 3 terminologies, but just to have their everyday life be conducted using Web 3, right? Same thing with the internet. Most people don't know IP addresses. Most people don't know how the internet actually works. They don't need to. They just need to conduct business and do things. So I feel really strongly about once people can get on and, we're doing fractional real estate, but you have stocks and everything can be put on chain in a way. But once that happens and once we have Web 2 to Web 3 bridgeability, and we can get away from the verbiage to the everyday layman's kind of idea of how things work. To me, that's really when that money will flow into the Web3 space. The other interesting thing I kind of look at as well is when we talk about the everyday layman and them using it, right? If we look at the stock market, 58% of the US is invested in the stock market, yet only 23% of the US has a self-directed portfolio. That means more than half of the people don't even know how to invest or move stocks. So when you talk about education, when you talk about will the space be occupied by, the people that are currently buying and selling and day trading and doing these things, or will it be the everyday layman now all of a sudden understands stocks and starts trading in the Web3 space? So I completely agree with you guys in thinking that, it will be more accessible to the everyday layman, but we need to get away from that Web3 terminology. And I think once that happens and the Web2 user will be like, oh, this is the easiest thing I've ever done in my life. What do you mean? So that's my 2 cents there. It's
a great take. I wholeheartedly agree. It's like, I'm nodding, I'm laughing because I'm old enough to remember we used to say www. before we set a website.
Exactly.
We used to
now it's HTTPS, right? Is it secure or not?
We used to call them MP3 audio files. Like, it's just music. It just happens to be digital. It's just a website. It's like the terminology, like enforcing on-chain or Web3, like it's that I think drops from our vernacular, and it's just financial markets, and it's just a better, like Robinhood announced Robinhood chain yesterday. It's not the last chain we're going to see of these major companies. Like, it's just makes sense. It's a better way to build these markets. And I think we've been saying this for a long time. It feels like we finally hit that tipping point.
Exactly. It's that tipping point. And to me, it's really, we start talking about, it's not a wallet, it's an account, right? It's not an NFT, it's a glorified PDF. And it was funny because I thought about that. I went PDF versus JPEG, right? The only reason we know that is because I can't send you a JPEG, right? We got to a point where it's like, oh, wait, this won't work. So we had to find alternatives, but we had to learn what the difference was simply because we wanted to send somebody something. But I just kind of go, if you're expecting a user to KYC versus just identity verification, or, hey, you're setting up a wallet over here to then go buy coin to then come to my, like, that's way too much. It all needs to be streamlined. You set up an account, you can exchange right there on the site, and you can start buying stuff until you have the eBay. We'll call it the eBay connection, right? eBay and PayPal. But I even tell people, think about the first time you went on eBay and bought something. You were like, wait, I'm sending money to somebody where? And they're sending me what, right? That concept is so I want to say still very immature in people's minds for Web3, but Web3 is the new internet and people will accept it, but they're going to accept it based on how it affects their daily life, not on, I need to go set up a wallet and do this and follow CoinGecko and do all this crazy shit just to be able to know that, hey, if I put $100 in today, it's not $50 tomorrow. I just lost half my buying power. So to me, that's where stable coins comes in. That's where all this adoption comes in of people going, oh, it's like my everyday life currently. And if we can match that and mimic that, mirror it, if you will, then to me that'll be that big adoption from Web 2.
I agree. You gotta remind me, your name's Zach? Is that what you said, Zach?
Yeah, Zach. I'm CEO, co-founder of Revolve, and
yeah, yep. Good to connect. Thanks again for jumping up. Appreciate the take. Yeah, and
yeah,
I agree. It's like if you're younger and you're doubting what Zach or myself are saying here, go back and watch you can find the video clip of when they introduced debit cards at Burger King and people thought it was a scam. Like probably myself, but I probably didn't really have that much money with the birth of the internet. I vividly remember my parents were like adamantly against, especially my grandparents, against putting their credit card information online. Like that wasn't that long ago. In my lifetime, people thought buying something online was a scam. Oh, don't use eBay. You're never going to get that product. Like, couldn't imagine buying something on Amazon. Like, that was real. It wasn't that long ago. And just like we don't really think about, I mean, I haven't looked at recent data, but I think most people probably their first place of commerce is online as opposed to going to a physical store nowadays. That paradigm shift happened quickly, like not overnight. I would say within a decade, but it's continued to compound to the point where we don't even think about it anymore. And I think we're heading towards a very similar trajectory. Things are just, for many reasons, just better on chain. And this is the shift has begun. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, my last comment on this would be, and I just thought about this the other day, and you mentioned it earlier. We used to say www. Right? You tell somebody to Google something. I don't tell them to go to the Google website, to go to the search bar, to look up specific things. You just go Google it, right? So until those terms are just like, yeah, go exchange your coin. What do you mean exchange my coin? Well, no, I won't accept your coin. I need you to exchange it. Until that's just like, oh yeah, I can hop in my account, swap it, and then boom, here you go. People don't understand that, yeah, it's wallet to this, to that. Until it's, hey, just Google it, then we'll be, in my mind, at that point of acceptance of where the internet's at today. But anyway.
Yep, no, I agree. And speaking RWAs, and I know we've seen some houses on chain, some houses sell on chain. It was Board Elon yesterday talked about he's ready to volunteer to be the first mortgage on chain. And I know we've recently got the notice or encouragement or endorsement for banks to consider crypto assets when their consumers are applying for mortgage. That seems inevitable. We're a few clicks away from being able to fully transact, buy a home, sell a home on chain. And including, if you're sitting on a few Bitcoin, like you shouldn't have to sell that for a deposit for your next home. It should be as good as, if you have 2 Bitcoin in your cold wallet, I know they're going to force you to send it to a SEX for now, but bear with me. Fast forward to the next evolution. If you have 2 Bitcoin in a cold wallet, that should be as good as having $220K in a bank account. And the bank should lend on that. You should be able to collateralize that. Like we're getting there. We're really close. One more time, Bob, no go to MeshMesh.
Yeah, so the last thing I was going to say on that becomes an issue though, because now you're talking about collateralizing, right? So if there's a margin call on that, now you could lose your house because the first 30% of your down payment was, based on Bitcoin. So I look at like when you talk about collateralization, that's a world in itself. Right now, we got a problem with people building equity and they can't even get into a house without buying a whole house. It's kind of what we're addressing. But what you mentioned earlier with securities laws, especially with ETFs and things and ICOs and raises, currently a lot of the fundraising platforms allow for Reg CF or Reg A, Regulation A+, which allows them to sell to non-accredited investors. But in this space, when you start talking mortgages, when you start talking about all these things, I get it. But how many people are going to sit there? It's basically a mortgage-backed security. We already have them, right? So I feel like the regulations are there in a lot of ways. And will whole homes come on? Yes, but who can afford a whole home right now? We have a different problem in that space. But I think about it to go, yeah, would you liquidate your portfolio for that down payment, or are you going to leverage your portfolio? And now we're looking at, okay, well, now your entire house is leveraged out, and one shaken market and you could be out in the streets. So anyway, that's my 2 cents for the day.
I hear you. And like, I'm not like, yes, not perfect. I'm not saying if you're sitting on 2 whole Bitcoin in a cold wallet that the bank should consider that $200,000 of collateral, but you should be able to lock it up and have, I don't know, it should be good for a $50,000 down payment, $40,000 down payment. And
100%. Yeah, you're 100% right on all that. Like it definitely should be available to you, but you should know what you're doing.
Right.
And I think to look at it,
where
you know,
Bitcoin crashes below 40K or 20K in that world and you get liquidated, possibly, I'd take that bet over an ARM 10 times out of 10. MeshMesh, appreciate your patience. Go ahead and get in here, and then we'll go to Oxy next.
GM Cap, how's it going?
Good, yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. So just to touch on some of the points from a European perspective,
Awesome.
it's definitely bullish, because prior to this, it was kind of challenging to buy sort of US stocks. There were ways to do it, but you'd have to go for a broker, all sorts of fees, and then you had to deal with like EU regulation on top of the regulation from your own country. So for example, in like France, I think in Germany, you had to deal with EU regulation, and then you had to pay like double tax. So French tax and then US tax on these stocks. So having it being tokenized makes it a whole lot easier for people to sort of buy whatever they want, how much they want. The other thing as well, it was kind of hard to buy sort of fractionalized stocks, because only certain like brokers would provide that. So this makes it a lot easier as well. It doesn't make much a difference for us in the UK, because we didn't have a lot of those problems because we left the EU, but it's definitely bullish for people sort of in mainland Europe. So just wanted to point that out. The other thing as well that you mentioned was about sort of people who are like maybe in Asia or Latam or Africa, sort of been able to buy stocks. Yeah, sure, someone may only be able to buy like $20 worth, but just think about the quantity of people who will be able to sort of buy $20 worth of stocks. That makes a big difference, right? So that's definitely bullish. And even if you look at Web3, sort of on crypto Twitter, the number of like Nigerians in this space, you know, I mean, some people may have a negative opinion towards them. That's a different story. But these are people who are ready to sort of invest in US stocks, that they now have the ability to do so.
And a lot of active participants. If you've seen some of the like big Web3 accounts, their number 1 or number 2 following by demographic is Nigerians. Like there's a lot of active participants, to your point.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go. And I was just thinking about another thing as well is sort of stable coins are the big thing right now. So you think about all the people who use sort of stable coins in Latin America and in Africa, it's money just sitting there in stable coins. Some of those people may decide to actually now use that stable coin to trade, because it's just so much easier for them to actually make use of those stable coins. So it definitely could be a big game changer. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But yeah, those are just a couple of thoughts that came to mind.
Yeah, great takes. That was my assumption, is that yes, Europeans and other international individuals it's possible to buy US stocks. Like my take is like, it's probably your more sophisticated investors. You're those that, like, conversely, you know, how many, actually, I think they said, I should remember the exact amount, 40-50% of Robinhood users are below the age of 45. Like, I think like your average Robinhood user, like my without looking at actual data, I'm guessing like their typical profile is a kid in their young 20s with $1,500 in their trading account. There's a big chunk of these individuals that are, as our society becomes more degen-centric, gambling focused, which I'm not saying this is a great thing. It is what it is. Like you can't deny it. You turn on a sports show or a game, you're going to see advertisements for gambling. I am a sports bettor. I play in that world. For most people, especially those who aren't deep or don't use a tool like Billy Bets or can't find an edge, it's probably much more conservative, much safer to invest in stocks, in even solid tokens, as opposed to sports betting, where often it's a binary outcome.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, just very quickly, there's one other thing that just came to mind. So when I actually signed up for Robinhood a couple of years back, you had to show your annual income. You had to prove that you were earning like £2,000 every month or something like that. But now that's completely changed. So the barrier to entry has reduced significantly. So that's opened up, access for a whole bunch of other people as well. So that's my final thought. Thanks.
Hey, Cap.
Yes,
So the average Robinhood user is 31 years old. The largest user group being in their 20s, and the average account size is $240.
I love it. It's been a minute since we got a good Stat Boy Joey data dump from ChatGPT. I appreciate you. Always bringing. It's like, man, there used to be like errors and omissions guy from Pardon the Interruption, right? I'm thinking there's another like bit like that, another show that had someone like I call you Stat Boy. I say this affectionately, by the way, for anyone new here. I say that with it's an endearing jab. It's a good bit. But I feel there was another show. I'm drawing a blank, but had someone like a Joey that would come in out of left field with the updates. Speaking of, by the way, for everyone that says AI is going to take your job, kid you not, for like 7, 8, 9, 10 months ago, I talked about creating an AI agent that would be like do what Joey just did and jump in with random facts and data on topics of conversation. And I've yet to do it. So Joey, AI is not taking your job. You're still very much in need. Oxy, I saw you had a question in the comment. I have no idea what that means. So let's first go there. You asked, I think it was a question for Zach with the Revolve Token about POR. I don't know what that means. So can we start there and then feel free to take it wherever you'd like.
Yeah, for sure. Can you hear me okay? Space has been giving me some issues this morning.
Yeah, we got you loud and clear.
All right, straight. So PRR is a proof of reserve, like attestation. So yeah, typically for RWAs or stable coins, centralized exchanges and so on, they've been getting a lot of proof of reserve audits or attestations issued. So I was just curious if they were doing something for the real estate side. A little bit of a selfish because I do work in that space. So I was just kind of curious, but.
Yeah, I could definitely hop on for you. So we're not utilizing a coin. We're going to be utilizing NFTs to fractionalize ownership. There's no liens, loans, encumbrances on the property. So the NFT holders get to make the decisions on the property, whether we sell it, if you want to get a lien against your NFT, do whatever you want with it. It's your equity. So sorry, I'm out walking the dogs right now, but yeah, that's kind of the route we're going. So it's not the control is in the hand of the customer, and we do them around what we call co-ownership rather than an advisor or an investment advisor or a fund manager, if you will, making the decisions on buying and selling those houses. So typically when you see like big commercial buildings, we're going after small single family to start. And then from there, we'll look at commercial. But once you start getting into like commercial buildings, you start getting into these very heavy investment pools. And I personally believe, and Stephen Captain talked like a week ago about the different types of coins and NFTs and things like that we see happening. And one of them for me is the NFTs directly representing the ownership of the asset because they're non-fungible contracts. But when you look at investments, when you look at like fungible stocks, when you look at, fungible, pretty much anything, even dollar bills, that's where coins, in my perspective, come in. So I guess that's a little bit different. We're in our ecosystem, we'll probably utilize a stable coin to allow people to buy NFTs, but everything that's being purchased is a fractionalized NFT, not a share in a pool of properties, if that makes sense.
So I'm assuming like primarily at this point for just like investment properties, nothing for like primary residence today?
Yeah, and that's the idea, because what we ran into was going, okay, if we sell these fractionalized pieces, like Captain, you decide to buy 10 fractions of this house, right? 10 1,000ths, and you own 1%. There's a major repair. I got to come get it from you, right? I didn't want something that would cost people money to own. So income generating real estate is the perfect place to start for now. But what we want to look at is like a 1031 down the road, right? How do you 1031 into a down payment on a home? Could you build a portfolio big enough? And here's the equity that you have. And just like you mentioned earlier, get a loan against it or leverage it the same way you would BIT or anything else, just in a digital space. Like the NFT is just a representation of ownership, right? It's 1/1000th. It's not a $10 share and there's 50,000 shares or coins per property. And that turns into a mess. Really what you're looking at is if there's a pool of 10, 20, 30 properties and you have POR, you usually have a fund manager that's giving you that proof. And then from there, the coin represents the pool of properties and you have 10 million coins, right? But if you're looking at individualized ownership, that's where NFTs come in, and proof of residence, POR, will fall into, you can look it up online, see it's held in the LLC. The NFT offers 2 key authentications, so you can go through and actually see your piece of ownership. There's the contract, there's the PDF, there's the lockdown. I physically own a portion of that asset. So a little bit different, but I really look at the future of RWAs and go, how many of them are actually backed by a non-leveraged asset? Or is that loan going to default and then everybody that holds a coin, well, they don't have shit for value?
Yeah, no, great take. I love it. It's tugging on my heartstrings. I kid you not. I haven't done anything with it. I've looked at it. I've thought about it. I've considered it. I've had like some plans in my brain, but I've not even reached out and talked to anyone yet. But I've been looking at, I live in the Tampa area. I'm looking at this market, and like, I want to do similar to what you just described as a pilot, except I want to, like, here, the vision I've got in my head, I want to buy a nice home, primary residence, pool house, guest home, etc., and live in it while we do the work to get it to the point to flip. Myself being a tenant that covers the carrying costs of the float, any float of the mortgage and expenses, while we do the improvements to make it flippable. Like, what you just described is happening today in the TradFi investment world. I'll use the Tampa market as an example because I'm familiar with it. These, like, people hear about, I'm sure you've probably heard about BlackRock buying up all the private, single family homes. It's not just BlackRock. There is a crazy amount of these large companies. I'm trying to find there's 2 of them in this area that I'm very familiar with. I just want to find the name of the other so I don't misspeak. One is Tricon Residential. I don't know. They're not in every market, but if you go search Tricon, they probably own somewhere between 10 and 100 homes in your market. The other one I was thinking of is Pathlight. These are like management companies that maybe BlackRock or some big firm owns the properties behind the scenes. But this market that you just described, it exists today. It just exists for the large funds. Most individuals aren't able to participate in this real estate market where you like, without, I mean, you can. It's just, I think, tokenizing it, putting it on chain, it's going to open up the market from someone today, $1 billion investment fund like BlackRock's participating. It's going to make it possible for Bob Smith, that's got a 10K of disposable money, that they'd like to get real estate exposure. This is a way that they can more actively participate in that market and benefit from the upside. Oxy, we'll go back to you in a minute, but go ahead and get back in here, Zach.
Oh, yeah. So the last thing I was going to say on this comment was, so what we're looking at is, exactly, BlackRock and these other major corporations, they come in and they provide a $10 million or $100 million pool to a management company to go buy all these houses, right? So, they're behind the money. But the issue that we're finding is all those guys who had these funds that they raised 4 or 5 years ago are having to refinance that in the next year or 2 at much higher rates. You're already fighting rental home costs, right? Single family rental homes, the cost of monthly rent is out of control because they're trying to pay that loan, trying to pay that lien. What we're looking at is if we buy a $500,000 house cash and sell off 1,000 fractions, and you and everybody else and me and all that end up buying them, now the bank's not involved. Now the equity is actually on chain. It's buy, sell, trade, and it's movable. When you invest in these funds or these pools, your money's locked up 5, 6, 7 years. You can look at Arrive.com. That's the Jeff Bezos backed one where, you can invest directly in this, but you can't get out. The other thing is bringing the equity back to the American people. Fun stats. I love stats. One of the big ones is individual. So if you look at single family rental properties and small multifamily, a majority of those are owned by individuals like us, like everyday people. Like 60% of them are owned by the general layman. we are at the lowest levels of ownership since the 1960s. And the problem is because just like me, I got a rental. If I decide to get a HELOC on it and go buy another one, it's a negative cash flow situation. So I can't even provide another single family rental home to the market myself as an individual investor because the numbers don't make sense. So in our mind, if we can get rid of those loans, those liens and things like that, then that's going to help the market. But get ready because BlackRock and a lot of these other guys are going to be dumping properties when they can't afford to refinance them all.
Yeah, no, interesting take. I've got another personal anecdote, but I want to let Oxy get back in here, and then I will share that.
Appreciate it. I was going to maybe circling back to the stock on chain conversation a little bit. Outside of obviously, it's like really cool for the space and giving opportunities to people around the world to buy US based stocks at it much easier than it is currently. I've said this before, but the opportunity that people who are blockchain and crypto native or DeFi native are currently going to have, I think, is immeasurable. We were talking about you're talking about AI earlier. When we're talking about, I mean, a couple months ago, we were thinking, okay, the best portfolio manager is going to be an AI that can trade on-chain tokens. Well, now that same AI, like the AI portfolio manager, is going to be able to trade actual stocks, which personally, I didn't think that was going to be possible for a long, long time. Outside of that, we're talking about liquidity pools on the modern market this morning. Radium, right now, you can provide liquidity pools for, trading USDC for NVIDIA or Tesla or what have you. Usually Fidelity or, Charles Schwab or TD Ameritrade or whatever earn the billions and billions of dollars that they earn on transaction fees. Now you and I can provide liquidity and siphon off the money that they would typically get for transaction fees, and it's going back to the liquidity pool provider. So I guess my advice is like dig into how to use DeFi, dig into how to use liquidity pools, because I think there's going to be a huge opportunity here for people who are well versed in blockchain and crypto to be able to siphon off some of this money that the traditional companies have been making.
Yeah, I think I agree. I agree with all this. It's just like I don't know the exact plays. I often liken that we have a front row seat here to this world, this intersection of finance and tech, and it's meshing together. And what we're seeing happen right now, these announcements yesterday, everything we're talking about this morning, I think it is the beginning of all this stuff playing out, right? Like today, the idea of buying a home on chain, whether fractionalized or by yourself, seems odd. It's definitely not the norm. You know what's going to seem odd in a decade? When we talk about back when I bought my first home, I had to go to this title agency and I had to go talk to this signature priest. They called him a notary. Think about the profession that is a notary. I'm not offending any notaries out there. I'm not taking a shot at you, but you should probably, if you actually rely on that for serious income, I don't think there's a single notary that makes a living off their $1.25 they charge for notarizing something. That's going away. Like that is so archaic. Like we may as well be putting like a stamp on something with wax oil or with the wax candle, like we're in Game of Thrones. A notary, when we have the ability to authenticate a signature on chain, like we're going to laugh about the idea of a signature priest in 10 years or so. But Joey, go ahead and get back in here. And a few other things like this is, I mean, the market did respond in kind on like Robinhood stock ripped up double-digit % yesterday. Definitely captured. It would seem to be well received, but I think bigger than any short-term price action is what is now set in motion to where a lot of the stuff that we've maybe probably was considered a pipe dream in crypto 3, 4, 5 years ago is now like, not only do we see a path or a vision towards it becoming reality, like it's happening. It's just at the very, very early stages, and it's the worst it's ever going to be. Go ahead, Joey.
Yeah, I mean, this conversation about getting stocks on chain and then getting mortgages on chain, right? This is one of my, like when I spoke at NFT NYC, and I specifically spoke about RWAs because obviously, what we're doing at BZ, but the thesis wasn't just things like collectibles, and it's also what we're seeing in some places already with driver's licenses and birth certificates, and right, like it's the idea of like owning, being able to own your data, own your paper, right? Like, so in what back in the day, whenever you bought and sold a car or bought and sold a home, they would ask like, you know, is your paper clean? Do you have your paper or whatever, right? Like now you could own your paper. So medical records, like all this stuff that we struggle to get access to. The idea of having to go to the DMV, to go to the passport office, right, and all like verifying identities and things like that can all be done on the blockchain now, and it's only a matter of time before all of it makes sense. I mean, the, you think about all of this things we're dealing with, whether it's voting, whether it's tracking finances. Like, a couple years ago there was that whole thing with how like the Pentagon lost like whatever it was, like $5 trillion or something they couldn't account for. Well, imagine if they use the blockchain and a mutable ledger, right? So these steps, these small baby steps of getting stocks on chain. I think, is it California or the state that's using Arbitrum?
Yes.
Or right? Yeah, like all these small baby steps that we're taking are just pushing us to a future where, like you said, Cap, like the idea of, oh, you had to go to the DMV to renew your driver's license. What is a DMV office, right? So I'm excited because we talked about this for years now, like what's going to happen when the big players, the big companies come into the space, and we're starting to see that with somebody like Robinhood, and it's going to continue to happen, and it's going to continue to evolve. And the older generation, yeah, they might have some issues dealing with it, but I think the younger generation is going to embrace it because it's all going to happen on your mobile phone. It's going to make life way simpler.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I got distracted a little bit. I'm trying to keep up with all the chats here, and the war room has went from Lunchables to Go-Gurts, Greek yogurts, and layman's. I don't know if there's anything actual in there, but I will get back to the rest of the chats here in a sec. I did see another hand that went down. Hopefully X isn't glitching out on me yet, but just the chat really did distract me this time. I apologize.
MeshMesh has his hand up. He's the only one I see.
Yeah, I don't see it. Go ahead, MeshMesh, get in here.
Yeah, just following up on what Joey mentioned, some of this stuff is already happening. I know in India and the Middle East, there's already a couple projects trying to bring health records onto the blockchain so that it's easily accessible from anywhere. It's being done on, I'm drawing a blank on the blockchain, but yeah, it's already happening. So baby steps, and eventually it's gonna take off. And obviously Avalanche as well had the India land registry put land on the blockchain as well. So it's already happening, and it's just going to speed up.
Yeah, I agree. And I did actually, there was some very actionable, like here's the alpha of the day. It might have been a joke. I think you need to run with it. And if it's not going to be Von Frunten, I think this is probably exactly how I evolved this idea I've had about wanting to take down a Tampa property just as a pilot. I'm not supposed to out the war room chat, but he says, I'm going to buy a series of rental properties that will be fractionized and token gated purely to fart coin holders. I shall call it a fartment building. I'm in. Like, send me the docs, or I guess we don't even need docs. We're doing it all in chain, but a fartment building is, yeah, I don't know.
Was that Zane? Was that a Zane joke?
It was a Von Frunten joke, but it's not a joke. Like, it's a like Zane is probably going to be the CEO. At minimum, he's going to lead social and marketing for apartment building properties. But we're gonna work this all day. Like I thought I was had a lot of things in my plans today, but instead it's going to be working on the apartment building raise with Von Frunten and Zane, because this is too good not to ship. Joey, get back in here, and we'll go to Zach.
Yeah, you're talking about notaries, and just in the real estate space alone, think about like title companies, and think about like having to put money in escrow, and and this isn't just in the real estate space, but we talk about AI replacing jobs. The blockchain is also going to replace a lot of jobs because we're not going to have a need for middlemen anymore, right? Like you think about how many times you've had to have, and this would be an example in the blockchain together, how many times you've had to have a lawyer review some type of contract that you and somebody else are going to need, are faxing or emailing back and forth or docu-signing, where there's probably going to be a future where there's going to be an AI integration with a wallet where when somebody sends you a contract to purchase a home, to engage in business, whatever, that wallet, right, whether it's a wallet guard or some type of service, will scan that contract, let you know, like, hey, these are the provisions in the contract you need to be aware of, and then you'll just sign it right there in your wallet. And now everybody's, you're in business, you've purchased whatever it is. So imagine a world where AI and blockchain operate together, and we can eliminate the use of so many middlemen in business or in life.
Yeah, no, I mean, it just makes sense. Like, why do you have title agents today? Well, because someone could have taken a lien, or there might be a lien on a property. Someone might have taken out, they might have encumbered that property with debt that they didn't tell you about. If it's all on chain, you can't hide that. Like, not only do you not need the signature priest anymore, like, what is a title agency? Like, you don't need all these third parties that are just keeping track of stuff when it can be open in public in a permissionless blockchain. Joey, I don't see any hands. Do you see any hands? My exit.
Yeah, Revolve has his hand up again.
All right, so
and then JD just came up and put his or her hand up.
I'm going to toss you co-host if you don't mind, if you could help kind of manage the hands, because I see none. But we'll go Revolve and then JD. Revolve, go ahead and get back in here.
Yeah, no, you just nailed it, Joey. I'll give you a prime example. The last 2 weeks I've been dealing with trying to release a lien on my rental property from 4 years ago. And it was a private carry loan initially, and then a bank, US bank, did a refi. And for whatever reason, the documents didn't get submitted to the public trustee's office. Colorado is the only state that requires a public trustee's office to sign off on unrecording a loan from laws back in the 1800s when the gold rush was happening and land was getting foreclosed on left and right. So they actually have an additional office that no other state has who's blocking me. And so anyway, I had to go find not the original title company, but then this title company so that they could fill out a document. And I think what it comes down to, and the reason we have these companies and why they have insurance, is because you need somebody to sue, right? Like, who didn't unrecord this lien? Who messed up in the process? And now who do I have reconcile and make sure that this, clouded lien or this loan from 4 years ago, I can't get a HELOC, I can't sell the property, I can't do anything with this loan recorded. So I kind of look at it to go, there's probably still going to be some intermediary in there, but yeah, blockchain will be.
Ooh, I lost the audio.
Yeah, he was talking about, did you hear him talk about the lien he has on his property?
Yeah, it went off when he said blockchain.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. Did he stop talking, or I might have lost him too then?
Yeah, I lost him.
Oh, he lost connection. Yeah, he lost connection.
No worries. Let's go. You might need to take a lap, Zach, if you want to jump back up. JD, go ahead and get in here. Thanks for jumping up. What brought you up this morning?
Thanks, man. Well, found the whole conversation interesting, actually. But just to pick up on that last point, I used to sell mortgages, actually. Hated it. Left before the subprime crisis in 08 because the writing was on the wall and I couldn't sleep at night with the stuff I had to do. But anyway, that's another story. I wanted to pick up on what was just talked about with regard to notaries and all this sort of red tape and overhead involved in mortgages and stuff like that. One of the things that I think is driving all that is money, right? There's a big financial benefit to a lot of the people involved today. For example, notaries have to renew every year. That means they have to pay a small fee. Half of them are never even using that notary license, but they're old guys that just don't want to give it up. Somebody's making a lot of money on that. A lot of people have a friend that's a notary. I have a couple. I don't actually need anything, to be honest, because I have friends that are notaries and they'll sign whatever I want. And I bet half the people in the United States probably have one. So that whole thing is kind of broken anyway. And, for me, that's one example of a system that could easily be, migrated on chain with more efficiency. And, at the end of the day, people can still make money on it, right? Because DeFi enables that opportunity too. So I think that's there. The other pieces like registry of deeds, recording stuff, title insurance, all this stuff. It's all based in finance, right? That's the reason it exists. I mean, this title insurance thing to ensure that, somebody didn't have rights to your house and that you don't end up with a lien and you can resell it and your collateral's safe. Every time you refinance, they make you pay that again. So it doesn't make sense, right? I mean, that thing can last for 30 years if you don't refi. Yet when you refi, they're like, oh, go to the lawyer and pay your title insurance again. Well, why? I mean, your title didn't change. You already owned that. You already had the title. So it just doesn't add up, right? Now a new bank has it and you need new title insurance. Like the whole thing is just full of people trying to make a buck. And I just think now that money can become available on chain just the same.
I mean, this is the thesis on how the blockchain is going to help the bankless society, right? Like banks right now control the flow of, us in first and second world countries, even some third world countries, right? But there's a huge population in the world that's bankless, but the bank controls all the flow of money, right? Fees, wire transfer fees, and all these fees that they charge to control our money. They're probably the biggest lobbyists, and I haven't looked it up yet. I will probably in a second, but my guess is the biggest lobbyists against, blockchain technology being adopted for all this is going to probably be banks, because once we all adopt blockchain technology and the ability to transfer money and pay bills worldwide without having to use a bank, they're going to suffer, I would imagine, and once you have control over your money, why do you need a bank?
It's also it's banks, but what about government? I'd love to just throw that out there as a conversation point, because if you think about it, like all these things I talked about, right? The registry of deeds and whatever, notary fees, I believe that's all going to some government entity of some sort. And that means that those are the people that might suffer. Yet we're the voters, we are the government, we are the taxpayers. So it's just about our appetite to move that on chain and take back the money that's ours instead of just handing it to, a government that does what they want with it.
MeshMesh, go ahead and get back in here.
Yeah, just following up on JD's point regarding governments. I think one of the biggest issues will be things, at least here in the UK, as an example, will be unions. So a perfect example, not related to the blockchain, is we've had driverless trains in the UK since the 70s.
Are you serious?
Yeah, since the 70s. But at the moment, drivers of trains get about £70,000 a year, right? And why is that? It's the unions. So this is not like an anti-union spill. I'm just pointing out the fact that there will be people who will push back against this because they have something to lose. And then the other thing as well, with the banks as an example, they're probably just waiting to position themselves to become the on and off ramps, for example, like with money transfers or other ways to position themselves to benefit from the blockchain. So yes, I think there'll be pushback from them, but just until they can position themselves to be able to be in a place where they can continue to benefit as they currently do. And I think that's the biggest concern for me is, yes, we're seeing all this progress, but I think there will be some pushback and people just position themselves to make sure that they continue to benefit.
Certainly, yeah. The incumbents aren't just going to lay down, right? Go ahead, Joey.
I was going to say, but I envision a future where you don't need to on and off ramp, though.
Exactly.
And that's the thing.
Yeah. Is there a future where we're just there? We're just on chain. We're just like, if the world comes on chain, like on ramping, off ramping, I understand, like, there's going to have to be something for, it all comes back to I guess taxes, but it's like probably a lot harder to hide it on chain than it is off chain. Is that naive to think in the future the idea of on ramping and off ramping just doesn't exist anymore because it's just all on chain? Is that just way too out there?
No, I don't think so at all. And I think from a taxes perspective, we would have to move to like a full KYC, but if again, the blockchain is immutable, right? There's no cheating it. So from a tracking perspective, it makes sense, right? Like if there was on the ballot in 2028, if there was an option to vote, do you want the U.S. government to use blockchain technology to track all of its like spending, I would vote yes. I want to see where we're spending all of our money and where it's getting sent and et cetera, versus, oh, I'm sorry, the Pentagon lost $5 trillion. They don't know where it is.
MeshMesh, I think I see. It looks like off mute on my end. Go ahead and let's go MeshMesh. And we'll go back to Zach.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sound pessimistic, but I think we might be being overly optimistic. I think you're right. These things.
Yeah, we are definitely being overly optimistic. It's probably still a pipe dream, but I guess like it's in range. No, like, can you see like I can at least like, I don't know.
I mean, I can see it. It can be done, but whether businesses or governments or whoever benefits currently will allow it to be possible is a different story. So I mean, it's already easy to like do remittance where the on ramps and off ramps are very
people
simple.
Also,
Go on,
but
Joe.
people also didn't think you'd be able to set up like auto payments online with ACH and debit cards. They thought you were going to have to mail checks forever.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's a fair point. Let's see how it plays out. I just don't want to be overly optimistic. I hope it plans out that way, but let's wait and see how it plays out.
So real quick, MeshMesh, you're spot on, man. It was funny. Somebody once told me that here in America, we're okay with a certain level of corruption. It's when they get too greedy that all of a sudden we have a problem with it, right? We kind of accept that politicians are in this place of power, and that's just kind of, and same thing with the unions. Unions are notorious for greasing palms and doing all these things. So what I look at is, to your point, is to go that these guys who have their hand in the cookie jar obviously don't want to get caught, right? You don't want to turn on lights and all the roaches scatter. So until they can figure out how to get theirs, whether it's in fees or transactions or something like that, then they probably won't want to accept some sort of upgraded ledger system. Going back real quick to the Fartment and the Fartcoin apartment, my question on that, and this is where we look at property and real estate as being obviously a risk for the token holder, because I'm looking at the customer's perspective. Who's got a loan on that property? Who's putting up their financials to say, yes, I will back this apartment complex? And then lastly, what I see as far as, like you mentioned, everything completely on chain where you don't have to off ramp and on ramp. What we're looking at is how do I get money from customers to then go buy more real estate, right? We have to convert that and off ramp it. But what about rental payments? If somebody's getting cash or fiat and they can convert that to a stable coin that then gets paid out to the token holders or the owners, now what we've done is created that digital currency. But to go back to even the beginning of this conversation was, we hardly use cash at all, right? I mean, cash is almost a collectible at this point, or you're buying drugs with this, about the only thing. But when you look at going digital, money is what we work in. We work in digital transactions on debit cards, credit cards. All of our ACH payments are coming in digitally, so it's not far off in my mind. It's just a matter of, with stable coins, how do you back it by fiat, right? You've got to be able to get that fiat currency into a pool or something like that. And I see like rental income, car payments, I see all that as a phenomenal way to at least get it into the bank, and then from there you can distribute or mint any sort of stable coin that you need at an equal rate, and that'll help convert that.
Cap, you there?
Hello.
Cap? Hello? I can hear you, Revolve. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Maybe we're getting too excited. I do think that we're not close to any of this, right? Like, I do think that we're probably years, if not decades away from seeing this type of adoption. But that doesn't mean that we can't push for it. We can't advocate for it, because the reality is it does make things better, right? If you can operate completely with just a cell phone in your hand, and again, not have to pay a lawyer, not have to pay a notary, not have to pay a title company, it does make things way easier. So while we're probably, I think saying 5 years is probably overly optimistic. We're probably at least 10 years away from seeing this type of adoption. Because again, if you look at like the adoption of, debit cards, ACH and things like that, I mean, I still see some older people writing checks at Publix for their groceries.
Dude, there's still counties in Texas you won't take anything but a check for property records or fees and things like that. It's pretty wild.
We reserved. So I play on a softball team, and we went to reserve a field for practice, and we had to go into the city office to pay in person. Like there's no online payment portal. There's nothing. It's like, what year are we living in, right? And it's the same with filing some paperwork. I'm also in real estate, but it's the same with where some cities require you for permits and things like that. You still have to go to the county office or the city office and wait in line, and it has to be signed off with a wet signature. They won't take DocuSigns, and so I mean, there's a lot of places in this country that are still operating like it was 1998. And it's going to take some time. But I think, again, we're talking about crawl, walk, run here. And the crawl is a big company like Robinhood coming in, which started this conversation, tokenizing stocks. And then it's probably going to take somebody big like a Coinbase, who's a publicly traded company, to start doing more of this as well. And as more big companies start to utilize this technology, it'll just gradually start to happen. Because, again, I remember the days where I had to mail my rent check to my landlord, right? Like there was no online portal. So,
quick
Cap, are you back?
Yeah, quick audio check. Is the mic working now?
Yeah. Yep, you're good. You're back now.
I did the unplug, plug back in. I am
That's what I
going to. Well, what I was saying when my audio wasn't working is Jambert asked, "What is a check?" And MeshMesh had the correct answer. Said it's the blue tick next to your Twitter name. Joey, I saw we had Spooky jump up on stage here. I'm going to hand it to Spooky. Welcome to the stage. Welcome to the conversation. I am actually going to step away now for like 30 to 60 seconds for a mobile stream drop, Joey, but I will be right back. Spooky, GM, welcome.
Spooky, you have at least 30 to 60 seconds while Cap does that.
Sounds good. It's all I need, man. Now, what's up? Good morning, guys. Man, this conversation, I've been working with the sheriff's office out here in Texas and for like 15 years. And part of my responsibilities is like returns, right? Returns of service. And I'm actually testifying as an expert witness in a case right now because people don't know if a return ever got to the courthouse, right? And so obviously blockchain technology eliminates that, because if you would transfer it to, let's say, from the sheriff's wallet, right, to the courthouse wallet, it's there. Like you can't, you know what I mean? There's nothing you can do. It's all on chain. It's there. It's verifiable. And right now you're dumping, money into attorneys and things like that. Court costs, paying more fees when you could have just sent it to somebody and the proof is there. So no, it's all super interesting to me like that. Even with evidence, a big thing in law enforcement is the chain of custody. Well, I mean, that's literally the blockchain. It's chain of custody. So no, man, it's good shit. It's great stuff up here.
I love that point, man.
Are you in WitPro? Are you in WitPro?
Am I in what? Who was that?
I said, are you in WitPro? Are you masquerading as an ape because you don't want people to know your real identity?
No, not at all, bro. No, not at all. Check the blockchain. He's mine, I promise. No, I'm just a normie, man, that came in here because I always like to tell everybody it was for the art, right? I like to collect comics, all that stuff. But once you get here, and then if you have a career where, and a lot of careers where blockchain can be utilized, like you start to think in the future. And I am sad that I won't be here for that, because we talked about 5 years. I'm thinking more 15 years, 20 years, because if you tell somebody, oh yeah, the sheriff's office has a wallet, just go check it, right? Or make an offer, whatever the case may be. The sheriff just sent you an NFT that is your return of service. They're gonna be like, what the hell are you talking about? What do you mean? Right? Now I go to the county clerk's office and I pick that up there. And I'm sad I won't get to see that transition, because I do think it's about 10 years away. And like I said, I don't know if I'll be here that long.
Well, we hope you are, Spooky. Stay around, man. And, be a part of the group and everything else as far as technology changes. One of the big things I just want to drop real quick is people don't realize as well that this is 2025. This is the 30th anniversary of the internet. Bill Clinton signed the Internet Act in 1995, and it wasn't even until 15 years later that we were walking around with, touch screen devices in our hand. I think Steve is a huge proponent on that. He talks about Independence Day and the movie, in 1994. That was such like a far out thing, and everything's like these, matte gloss touch screens with neon green and black backgrounds, but really it's much more than that, and we just never envisioned that. Look at the conversations we're having. I'm in Colorado, you guys are in New York, all over the world, Texas, and here we are going, look at this technology that brought us all together, but it took 30 years. And then the next question is just like you said, return of service. Maybe hey, here, you got it, and I can prove that you opened it and you looked at it. You logged in, you saw it. There's no way you can't say you didn't get it in the mail, right? So I definitely see those kinds of things being a huge thing for especially law enforcement and return services. And now are we starting to get? Will we eventually start getting summoned by courts? Will we have what was that guy from Pineapple Express? He was a somebody goes
down.
He
was a private processor.
There you go, yeah. Private processor. And that's what I look at to go, will we be served, by your wallet? You open it up and you open up this NFT and boom, there's a document. We can prove that you logged in. We can prove you looked at it, and we can prove that you've been served.
We'll go back.
I was going to say, do you want to do the market update?
Yeah, we're going to do market update. We're going to go to JD, then we'll do market update. Before I go to JD, though, Florida Joker, I did not mean to upset you by my attack on the signature priest today. Florida Joker screaming at me in all caps says, chain of custody my ass. Let's see the courts scramble when their super court wallet gets drained because some effing normie intern clicked the links into their public emails. County clerk laughing too hard right now. I agree. We're not there yet. In abstract chat, we've got, I think it was Rare Ed. Rare Ed said we're less than 3 to 5 years away. I don't know, like who the hell knows, but I think like that 3 to 5 year timeline is where I think I net out today, probably 3 to 5 years closer than 10 years, but maybe not. It could be 20 years for all I know. But I do think partially due to just the acceleration of tech with AI, I understand there's also a lot of incumbents that do not want their systems to get disrupted. But yeah, I think we're closer to it than we are far away from it. But JD, go ahead and get back in here and then we'll get a market update in.
Hey, man. Yeah. So I love this conversation, first of all, great space. But one of the things that was just talked about is like the immutable aspect of the blockchain, right? And yeah, of course, the private key issue is, somebody hacks it. Obviously, those issues have to be figured out. And private keys could get more expansive and harder to, there's all kinds of ways new blockchains can be more secure. But anyway, that aside, I think what really is interesting to me is like, how do all of us as blockchain evangelists go pitch this simply? And for me, this conversation is like enabling me to do so, I think, in some ways. I think as I listen, like it's a really simple thing, right? It's, do you want to know the truth or keep your head in the sand? Like literally that's the value proposition. So that's, the blockchain is public, it's immutable, it doesn't change. I've worked at a lot of big software companies. I work in a marketing role, but I work closely with engineers, and we've had to change data a lot. And sometimes that's sensitive data, but we're like, we got to fix it. It's broken. It was bad. And there's always some process you can run. You can always change it because it's a database. It's a relational database. And I think the value proposition for blockchain is like, that's it. Do you want the truth or do you want the chance of being fooled?
Yeah, fair. Over in abstract, Jambert says, I rocked a pager and now I have the internet in the palm of my hand. Blockchain for all would just take time. That's where I'm at. Like, to me, I feel as if the train has actually left the station this time. It's no longer a pipe dream of us crypto native nerds. This stuff is happening. It's better. It's more efficient. And it's I don't know the timeline. Could be a year, could be 20 years. It's near impossible for me to envision a future when my daughter is my age that most of what we're discussing today doesn't become reality. Just like when smartphones became a thing and only 3% of the nation had them. And I was a Verizon dealer at the time, and our goal was 70% smartphone take rate. My team thought I was nuts. My peers thought I was crazy. I'm like, this is not going back the other direction. You people that think you want a flip phone today because it's small, you're missing 99% of the utility, and this is just getting started. Like, it was so obvious to me that everyone that had a phone was eventually going to hold a smartphone, but yet when it first dropped, it wasn't the case. Like, people thought it was only like business executives and CEOs. And it's like, no, everyone is going to have one of these someday. I think this is going to follow a similar trajectory. Maybe it doesn't happen as fast as smartphone adoption, but I do think the proverbial train has left the station. Marka or Mar, aka L Take, I saw you jump up. Give me a minute. I want to do a quick market update. I promise we'll go to you right after we get the market update in here. Bear with me. Let me play this in and get everyone updated on the markets, because it was kind of definitely some movement in the market yesterday on all the news, but mostly kind of a flat to down day. Let me play us in here, and then we'll get back to the conversation.
The daily market update straight to your brain. Powered by ApeCoin, no hype, just gains. Moving on Onchain, we bringing the heat. NFT spends alpha, never miss a beat. Onchain on top, now we bringing the flex. The home of NFTs, these now what's next? Come on, my head top, but you want the time to chop for one time.
We're going to talk our daily market update, brought to you by Onchain, the home of NFTs. Onchain on top. Had the Onchain hub to learn more. We also had an incredible interview with Garga last week. If you've missed that, go hit actually, I'll pull up the DJ account here in a second. You can click through, find our podcast. It's just Coffee with Captain everywhere you find your favorite podcast, and go hit that Garga interview from last Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. But looking at our market update today, Bitcoin down 1% to 106,575. Our favorite stablecoin, ETH, down 1%, still hanging at that 2,500 mark at 24.47. XRP up 1% to 220. Solana down to 148. Doge down to 16 cents, and Cardano 55 cents, down 1% on the day. Runes all red on the day. We'll just fly past them though. Memes also down, except for our apartment leader. Fartcoin is flat at $1.12. SPX Murad coin down 10% on the day. Trump down 3%. Pepe down 3%. Sheeb down 2%. Doge down 3%. Looking at NFT land, we had our OpenSea farm back on with Larva Lads up 11% on the day, the favorite farming NFT of choice over there in the $5 range, it appears. Another 27,000 trade. If you're ever wondering how many people are farming OpenSea, looks like about 27,000 farmed it yesterday's voyage. I'm not going to go off the rant every time we do this daily market update, but every time we see an OpenSea farm here, I have to at least take a quick jab. Mutant Apes down 2% again to 1.71. CryptoPunks 42.99 flat on the day. There was, I think, a 50 ETH sale or two. Little Pudgy's down at 1.67%. Meglio, it shows down 23% on the day, but it's up from mint price just a couple days ago. Bored Apes down 1% to 10.69. Kaido seen a little run. Those Genesis NFTs up 4% to 1.73. Meta Winners, not familiar with this one. It says it's on ETH. Mainnet up 27% on the day. 0.22 ETH, 30 ETH in volume is not nothing. 147 of them traded. If anyone knows what Meta Winner is, let me know. I completely missed that one. I have no idea. And I know why Bored Milady Makers ran. I saw there was a big sweep. Someone ran. I'll go see if I can find it. I think it was J Bond who called this out. No idea. Maybe they're here just for the art, as someone said a little bit ago, but 374%. The sweep was, I think it was one individual was almost this entire 20 ETH sweep, bought about 100 of them and sent the floor from like 0.02 to 0.16. So who knows? It's on ETH. I don't think it's a farm, but to each their own, I guess. Other deeds down a couple percent on the day. Although you are seeing a lot of higher, like people are collecting. You're seeing some of the bio, the different, whether it's resources, artifacts, or even like some of the more rare other deeds are selling for quite a premium. Probably do a deeper dive. Maybe we need to get Frosty on here someday and talk other side wiki and all that's happening there before other side really takes off. But that's our daily market update, brought to you by Onchain. Onchain on top. Again, head over to Onchain Hub. I'll pin their account up top if you're looking for more information there. We certainly appreciate all the support. And Steve is back next week. Got some really fun, exciting stuff. We're going to be kicking off several $1,000s going to listeners courtesy of Onchain and the team over there. Grateful for that and excited. I think it'll be a fun campaign. Going to be doing some new stuff, working with another one of the ape chain builders who's an OG team that's been shipping relentlessly and got some really cool stuff. So excited to talk more about that next week. Looks like we lost Mar. Mar, getting back up here on stage. And Mar, appreciate your patience. Welcome back. What brought you up today?
Hey, Captain. Good morning. Thank you for having me up. Hope everyone is doing great. Also, yeah, I about the talk about decentralized and all this. I and the internet, how it has evolved. I do remember back in 2001, I think it was. There was a gentleman, a famous investor or banker. I forgot his name. It was an old guy. He did an interview, and I want to find that video. Maybe when I come back one day, I'll tomorrow or something, I'll post it on the comment section where he said the future is digital money and payments on the internet. And this guy was like the laughing stock. I mean, everyone laughed at him. It was insane. You could see the comments of people like, this guy's nuts. And look what where we are right now. It's incredible. The one concern I have, and it's a question, maybe someone could say, oh, there'll probably be ways of making this work, is with decentralized. If you're in control of your money, and for me, that I've only been in this space for 4 years, my biggest concern is where I see a lot of issues is with security, where, and I'm gonna make this easy for the 5-year-old in the room, just like myself. It's, you got $10 million, $1 million in your bank. Someone comes into your house to try to get that money from you. It's almost impossible for you to move that amount of money or give it to that individual from your bank. If you have this amount of money, and I think right now it's like 3-5% of the world in crypto. If you have this amount of money on chain, when it comes to people, and crime, coming into your house or whatever it is and say, hey, pass me this, permissionless. I want your money. Give me your money,
Yeah,
it's
very fair, valid concerns.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're gonna have something for that, but probably it's gonna be more centralized,
I
for
mean,
your protection.
I self custody funds. Most of my Bitcoin, my ETH, you could rob me. You could take me, that'd be the only time I ever pull my gun out of the safe if you attempt it. But you can get access to my hot wallets, any material funds. I can't even access myself. My seed phrases, I'm not going to tell you where, but they're secure. They're not here. And it's my long-term, I don't have 10 million on chain. If I did, I would not be able to access it from my house. No way, shape, or form. I wouldn't be able to access it by going to a single safety deposit box. I appreciate being able to self-custody my own funds. I also hold funds in centralized exchanges. And I don't think our future world is all self-custody. I think it's going to be mostly still centralized exchanges, mostly custody, institutions that are going to be custodying these funds, because most people don't want the liability of holding, forget $10 million. Most people don't want the liability of having $100,000 under their mattress. And if you got $100,000 on a ledger, it's kind of what you're doing, right? Like a wrench attack is not new. And yeah, you bring up valid concerns. And I don't think that the world coming on chain means everyone's going to custody their own assets. I think that some people will. It's good to have the option to do so. But yeah, I'm not here to tell people how to manage their life, but if you have material amount of on-chain wealth, you should not be able to access it all in your own private residence.
I also think there's real quick. I also think there's a future where we start to see more companies that will, so right now when you put your money in a bank, it's FDIC insured, right? Like that's how if your debit card gets stolen and they can give you your money back and stuff like that. I do think there's a future where we're going to start to see that type of insurance for digital assets, for crypto, for NFTs. which will help protect you. And I also think we'll probably see the advancement of, like you said, being able to set some type of thresholds with your money, right? Like if I have $100,000 in my cold wallet, right, I can set it where only every so many hours I can transfer so much money, right? Like I think we'll see the advancement of where you can protect yourself beyond just putting in your password and clicking a button that says sign signature.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree. I don't think it's just like you can do these things. It's just not like you're not going to get a mortgage with your like. I understand the pushback from the decentralization maxis who balked. Oh yeah, they'll let you use your crypto as collateral, but you got to put it in a centralized exchange. You're out of your mind if you think a bank is going to lend on your crypto assets that you hold under your mattress. It's just like, come on, like there's unless you're working with an insurance company, unless there's some like there's gonna have to be a third party just for trust and like it's just. Could you do it in a totally decentralized manner? Sure. But I just like, that's not realistic. I think centralized entities are still important for most users in the world today. Like the reality is most people aren't responsible enough to hold material amount of wealth in their home private residence. They're just not, forget about someone coming in and attempting to rob you. Clicking a phishing email. Like, it's just like, it's not, I have a very hard time picturing a future where financial institutions are lending on something that, if you make a mistake that you could lose all that collateral. I don't see that happening. I do think that centralized entities are very much so going to be a part of our future. Let's go Oxy. And then I see Gary's coming up as well. Oxy, go ahead.
Yeah, I think we're actually already moving towards, like on-chain banking or like this transparent banking with Circle and in USDC. I don't know if you guys saw, but yesterday Circle actually applied for a U.S. trust bank license, and this isn't specifically for individuals putting money into depositing money into them. They're more so custodying like bonds and stocks and so on and so forth for other commercial entities, but. I've said this before, but I think Circle is going to be that quote unquote decentralized bank that's going to be holding our money for us. Because essentially what they're doing now is already kind of like banking. It's a weird way to think of it because we're only transacting with USDC, but in essence, we give them Ethereum, they give us USDC in response, and then they put it into treasury bonds, and then they earn interest on that. That's exactly what a bank does, right? More or less. I think the next iteration of Circle or USDC is that, like what you guys are talking about, FDIC insurance and so on and so forth. I think it just only starts to expand more into a traditional bank. I think where we need to maybe be very careful and to draw the lines is if my money's in the bank or in Circle, it needs to be in Circle. Like it can't be fractionalized all over the world where I can't pull it out at any instance. Which is what that's what we're moving towards. Like the Genius Act is requiring stablecoin issuers in the U.S. to hold 100% backed by U.S.-based USDC or treasury bonds or what have you. And I think we just need to be so hard and fast on that rule, because if we lose that, then I think it just kind of starts falling apart and we move back to that traditional banking system.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It's just it's going to be very interesting for many reasons. One, we've talked about where it's better, how it's more efficient. At the same time, these banks, multi-billion-dollar industry, they make a lot of fees today. They're not going to want to they're just not going to lay over and lose all this work. They're going to be. It's like there's two paths forward. Either they do everything they can to prevent it from happening, or they get on board and start playing ball. I think we've passed that point of no return where the banks who don't embrace crypto, who don't embrace blockchain tech, I think that they may not be the banks of the future. I would not be surprised to see they fall behind, and the banks who play in this world are the ones who, continue to win. But to your point, it's just there's a lot of things like we are heading that way. It's happening, and I'm curious Gary's take here because I was getting some thumbs down a little bit ago. Gary, welcome to the stage.
GM, thanks for having me. I love that we get to have these conversations about security and privacy. And I do not 100% disagree with you, Cap. But I do not 100% agree with you as well. My homework, I want to give homework to everybody. Sorry for this, but my homework for everybody is for everyone to check out Safe. Safe Wallet is the go-to multi-sig wallet supporting safe smart accounts. And with the Safe Wallets, it's really cool because it's important for us to know that there are decentralized options, and the decentralized options are scary because they're new and they're they're not making money off of them and whatnot, even though there's like tokens and stuff in the background. But everyone's homework is to go to Safe. I have it pinned up above because what's going on with Safe is that Safe is an alternative decentralized approach because the centralized is good for people that need the centralized system, but the centralized system, you got to realize, A, it's a single point of failure. B, there's limited control that you have as a user. C, the centralized system has data exposure for your data, right? And the decentralized option that we all have right now, battle tested, hundreds of millions of dollars, major DAOs trust Safe to keep things safe. And Safe is great. It's decentralized and eliminates the single point of failure. Being decentralized infrastructure and smart account design, it enhances your user protection with security and empowering you as a user. It has advanced privacy and resilience against threats of privacy and keeping cypherpunk values. It's open source, meaning anybody in the world can look at it and try to hack it, try to improve it. Completely transparent, completely community based. And, like I said, there's good things about centralization because of the trade-offs, right? The decentralized way of doing things, we all know it could be a little more complex when we're going through the user design, the user interface. As users, we have to take more responsibility. We have to take more brain power and more precautions, to be able to have, a secure multi-sig. And there's things of that nature, but make a new wallet, and then go to the Safe website and then make a new Safe account and then go put an NFT in that account that's worth nothing. Go spend a little bit of money to do this and know that you can have an enterprise grade, battle tested, decentralized, smart, multi-sig wallet. And you can get top level enterprise, class multi-sig wallet for you and or your business and or your family without going through centralized infrastructure. And we have both. We have both. And your homework is to use it so it's familiar and not scary, and you could teach other people how to protect their assets.
Fair, and I think perfect transition to Drew here. I'm not sure if he's going to take us back to the insurance conversation or not, but I saw Depressive Hacks coming up earlier, gave a shout out in the war room about Fairside having on-chain insurance. I think this might be something Drew knows a little something about as well, but take it wherever you'd like, Drew. GM, always a pleasure.
Yeah, GM. No, glad we're having this conversation. Yeah, if everyone isn't familiar with Fairside, definitely check it out, fairside.io. It's on-chain insurance. It's pretty cool. But I was just coming up, highly agree with everything with Safe. I just really recommend, if you're a consumer or you're a user, just really make sure you understand Safe and do your due diligence. They don't necessarily support all the chains for tokens and for NFTs. And, if a user doesn't have the fundamental knowledge and understanding of the blockchain and what to look out, a Safe is no difference of you using a hot wallet versus a Safe. If you're going to go and click on some random shit or some bad shit, it's all the same thing. So knowledge is always just as important as any tool or kind of a platform that you're using. So just really want to emphasize that, because I've seen a lot of people go the safe route, get super confused, make an oopsie, not understand, or just perform the same action they would with a normal wallet and still get got.
Yeah, no, great take. And this is why I think that probably naive to think the world becomes decentralized and everything becomes self-custody. It's just not realistic. Those of us that have been here for years, you see it, unfortunately, maybe not every day, but maybe every week, at least once a month, someone gets got. Someone that you would have never expected to get drained. They send out a tweet, I just got drained because I clicked a link that I shouldn't have clicked. Like, it's just, and these are probably some of the more tech forward, sophisticated, at least understanding of blockchain tech than, it's safe to say in the top 1% of the world. And to think that the other 99% are going to come on and not have this, it's just, I think it'd be kind of naive and just seems unrealistic. Gary, go ahead.
FDIC insurance doesn't count for catastrophic incidences. And FDIC insurance is also very, very limited. Also, FDIC insurance, which, for the people that don't know, is what's securing up to $250,000 in your bank account, may or may not apply to your crypto funds. And if the FDIC insurance does apply to your crypto funds, it's going to apply to the US dollar value, not the cryptocurrency value. This is important to realize because although we're living in crypto and we're all crypto native, so we are extra focused on the crypto hacks, the reality of the matter is that the amount of Web 2 traditional financial hacking is very, very common. Let it be you're an old grandma getting spammed from, a security, virus hack or whoever you are. I think that we see less of it because the banks do take care of it pretty quickly. But anyone in the financial crimes industry does know that when a financial crime happens against your bank account, it's much more difficult to get your money back than when the financial crime happens against the credit card processing account, because they're insuring it at a much greater scale. The similarity here to crypto is that your crypto is an extremely limited asset. So Web 2 crimes are going to continue to happen. Web 2 hacks are going to continue to happen, perhaps more prevalently. And with the scarcity of cryptocurrency, the consumers are going to feel the consequences of those, to a great scale. So, listen, there's just as I would say there's more, right? Like pound for pound, even obviously pound for pound. There's more. Web 2 financial crime. The Web 2 financial crime isn't going to go away. Crime is committed with dollars, not crypto, in the professional crime area. And so I don't think it's really any better. I don't think centralization is necessarily better. And when you self-custody and give up your privacy and you give up your keys, when bad things happen, you're going to, you're at much greater risk. But again, I do agree that there's an appropriate way to use centralization, but you could have a multi-key wallet where if you get kidnapped, you're not going to be able to have access to your funds. That's the way most people in Web3 who don't talk about it, I think that's the way that they do it.
Hey man, can I ask a question on that? Good take. When we think about insuring crypto, whether that be through a SEX or otherwise, it feels like KYC is a must, because how can you go back and claim, what you feel you're insured for if you don't KYC? And as more insurance, companies or whatever start to show up in the Web3 space to help protect us and protect new people and normies, like KYC is a must, right? I don't see any way around it.
Yeah.
It depends on the entity you're going through. There's obviously a way to do it in a like blockchain decentralized way, but obviously if you're going through like FDIC, then that's going to be KYC'd. The crypto thing to know is that there's going to be a way to do like reverse attestation, and where you're going to be able to publicly verify that my name is Gary. And I'm going to be able to use cryptography to validate my address without exposing my address. And so that's going to be ways for us to have a digital ID some sort of digital identifier, some W3C compliant, internet compliant digital identifier. And then that's going to be like our identity, and we're going to be able to prove things about like where we live and what our phone number is and what our address is on the blockchain without exposing that, all that information on the blockchain. And centralized organizations, are already basically doing that.
Timely, breaking news. Shout out to Saucier for sharing this in the chat. If you're looking at the video, you'll see that Watcher Guru just tweeted out, just in. Supreme Court rejects Coinbase's request to block IRS from accessing user data. Just because we're coming on chain does not mean doesn't mean taxes go away. Doesn't mean it's like it's not a way to get away from the government or to hide your funds. It's a way to transact more efficiently. That's it. Like this, like laws and regulations, they're not going to go away just because we've been operating in this world that is decentralized. We'll likely see new regulation, we'll likely see new laws, but like it's going to be an evolution. It's not going to be throwing everything out that's existed for decades or hundreds of years and building from scratch. So yeah, just like these centralized entities, if you got to put your Bitcoin in there to go secure a mortgage and you end up owing the IRS a couple $100,000, they'll put a lien on your account. They'll put a lien on your Bitcoin. They'll put a lien on your house. Like, it's just like that sort of stuff doesn't go away just because we move on chain. But yeah, timely notice there from hopefully, if you're the Fed listening in, show yourself. If you're listening to Coffee with Cappy this morning, who's out there, and we're this is not us. We're just discussing. No one here is attempting to hide from the IRS with our Coinbase funds.
Yeah, you know what's ironic about that, Captain, is that if we have our identities and we have our on-chain wallets, and the IRS can see everything that we do publicly on-chain without asking for permission. And it is interesting that folks using Coinbase can get extra privacy. And it's sort of interesting when you think about the context of the $600, should every time, someone with a small business makes, $600 with that IRS rule, like how much data is it okay to give up, or should we just give up 100% of our privacy? It's pretty cool with all the things that people say about Coinbase, that Coinbase is fighting for privacy and rights. So, shout out to Coinbase and Coinbase's legal team and all the crypto funds out there doing the hard work.
Hey, show sponsor plug. What if we get to a world where everybody has to have an ENS, right? So like in order to be identified, instead of it just being a wallet address, you register with an ENS. And so like, I have joeyvowels.eth, but maybe my ENS becomes my social security number, or it becomes that'd be too risky, but maybe it just becomes, right, like a specific identifier number. So that way anything you do funnels through that ENS and it can be tracked.
Yeah. And so the way this works for everybody at a super, super high level is that there's HTML. We all know what HTML is. And HTML is governed by, let's call it a semi-decentralized organization. And the semi-decentralized organization that governs HTML and different protocols for the web, they also, it's W3C. And W3C is, in the modern era of advancing Web 1 and Web 2, they're also defining what is a digital identifier. And so W3C, and JP Morgan, if you look at what they're saying about their layer 2, JP Morgan has a layer 2 blockchain. It used to be called Onyx. Now it's called Connexus, I think. And they're talking about digital identifiers. They didn't mention ENS, even though they have a web page on their site talking about ENS. But this digital identifier page is basically saying we're going to do what W3C says to do about digital identifiers. And then if you look at ENS does fit the spec for plugging in digital identifiers. So yeah, I want to get into it right now, but if you're interested, just go to Grok and say, hey, how does ENS fit into the W3C digital identifiers? And yeah, so when JP Morgan wants to be internet compliant and use compliant HTML and compliant internet identity, ENS is a protocol that fits perfectly into that, and it's something that PayPal's using, it's something JP Morgan is using, it's something Coinbase is using, it's something that all the EVM blockchains are using.
I think, Drew, we'll go to you next. I think Jambert brings up an excellent point in the chat. Education will be key. I think schools should be teaching crypto, blockchain, security, etc., starting in like maybe 6th, 7th grade, maybe earlier. I agree. It's coming to the universities, right? Like universities have blockchain courses and they're teaching it. But if our vision,
no more learning how to boil rice, instead it's learning how to log into your MetaMask.
Yeah. I mean, in all seriousness, if our world is going on chain, that education should start sooner than college. I think that's a great take. Drew, go ahead.
Yeah, I think I saw. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I think Vivek said that he's going to start enforcing that. I think there's one state that already passed the law to start teaching that in high school, which is cool.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah, we'll see what they're actually teaching though. If it's a matter of making sure you follow Web 2 laws and all that kind of shit. The only thing I was going to say to Gary's point though, I wish I remembered what conference it was. It was the one that Vitalik just spoke at before Keynes, however you say it, and in the Robinhood event yesterday, where as much as people hate and shit on ETH, like Vitalik is always way ahead. I mean, he's been investing in Web3 built on top of ETH, whether you call it an L2, L3, or privacy chain for years. I mean, if you look at his on-chain activity, he's literally been seeding anything that has to do with privacy, because in order to do anything that Joey, Gary, if it's a matter of having, in Denver, right, you have driver licenses, digital driver's license. So like there are unique identifiers that can be hashed, salted, encrypted, whatever you want to call it, to where you do have that privacy. It is that central point. Without having a central database to have that, it can live on chain in a privacy manner with obviously just some sort of, centralized sequencer or verification standpoint. You always have to have that. But I think as soon as we have that, then everything we're talking about quickly turns into a reality, especially in the sense of we're all so used to biometric authentication, face unlock with the phone, digital IDs, digital, the license plates are now on chains over in California. They're rolling that out. Like there's so much more shit that's happening than we realize. And we maybe just don't realize it because they aren't using the buzzwords like NFT or, something like that for us to recognize it.
That's exactly right. It's just, we're going to stop calling them NFTs. I think the word blockchain probably is removed from our vernacular at some point in the future. Like it's just in how the world works. I had missed this, but yeah, I just quick search found it. I guess it was at maybe the Bitcoin conference that he announced wants to include Bitcoin education in public schools. Not sure what that exactly what that means to your point, but certainly interesting nonetheless. Two quick things, and then we'll go around the horn if there's any final comments on today's conversation. Really enjoyed it. Wasn't sure if we'd go this long on the news of the day, but it definitely a really interesting conversation, and appreciate all the variety of thoughts shared. I was going to hit this on the daily market update, but I didn't yet. Two other tokens we talked about yesterday. Grind, if you missed it, it did go off. There was some snipers at launch and some issues. I think it ran up to about might have touched 5 million, I think, at one point. It's been pretty stable around that 3.5 million price point for the last since launch. And then I have to share, would be remiss if I didn't. We had our co-host yesterday, Simple Farmer, gave everyone a goodie yesterday morning around 8 o'clock. 8:30 maybe. We were talking about the Camelot token Grail in advance of the Robinhood announcement, as they announced yesterday, partnering with Arbitrum. Camelot is the leading DEX on Arbitrum, and yeah, we gave you all a nice gainer yesterday, up from 350-ish when we talked about it yesterday to 522, up 44% on the day. So little bit of alpha shared yesterday from our co-host as we talked through things. Hope some people got in on Grail and printed on the run up. But I don't see any hands. If anyone does have any final takes or anything you want to get out in today's conversation, throw up a hand, and either Joey or I will see it. If not, we'll probably start to look to wind things down here. Joey, I don't see any hands. Do you? Oh, I see Gary. Gary, go ahead.
Oh, Gary, Gary, why you gotta do that to us, Gary?
Hey man, I just want to make sure like people check out safe.eth. Just use it. Use the tech. We're out here using all this tech. You guys are learning tech. You guys are learning security. Get a little bit smarter with the multi-sig safe wallets. Try to figure it out. Ask Drew if you have any questions. Sorry for bombarding you, Drew. Yeah, just I just want people to try things that are going to help them. In this world too. And the Coffee with Captain show is where, the people that are here are the people that are, getting smarter and learning about this cool stuff. So thanks, Joey, for filling in, and thanks, Captain, for being rock solid.
Yeah, appreciate it. It looks like I see Zach, and then we'll go Joey.
Yeah, last point, guys. Again, great show. To just kind of dial in on, KYC and what we'll see. Obviously with real estate transactions, we're going to have to collect some sort of data to be able to send it to the IRS. You also deal with OFAC and other things. So it's like, are you selling to domestic terrorists and other things like that? So we see it in the car industry. You see in a lot of even homes and purchases where, that sort of check is necessary. So moving forward, I think it comes down to how much information we actually need to collect and what needs to be reported. Because we don't want to collect your information. I don't care to have it. So why press it? But anyway, great show. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, good to connect. Thanks for jumping up. Joey, unless I'm missing any hands, any final thoughts? Anything to put a bow on this morning?
No, I thought today was an awesome show, considering like it went really impromptu, and it was really cool getting some big brain people up here to share their thoughts, and I had a great time. Thanks for letting me co-host. I'm about to go do a CrossFit WOD now and get my fitness on. Fitness is the fountain of youth, people. If I leave you with anything today, fitness is the fountain of youth.
True, and to share more War Room Alpha, our generations, and like some of the kids probably never heard this before, but they used to say an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Our generation's version of that is 20 minutes in the sauna a day keeps the doctor away. So if you're not sitting and sweating for at least 15, 20 minutes a day, pick it up. It's the best, easiest. Like, you literally don't even have to lift a finger. Just go sit and sweat, and it will improve your health. I'm not even joking. It's only a personal anecdote. I'm not a doctor. It's not medical advice. But I've been sick once in 8 years since I started a daily sauna routine. In that time, when, yes, it was Hong Kong nightlife festivities and 2 24-hour plane flights. But to prove my thesis, I did not hit the sauna that entire week. Took a week off the sauna, came back with the Hong Kong Rona. And other than that, I've been running pretty pure on the health front, and I'm going to attribute it to my sauna a day. So, Drew, go ahead and get back in here, and then I'll think if I have any more health tips. If not, we'll let everyone get off on the rest of their morning.
Yeah, I just want to mention, definitely, I never show anything, but to kind of tie it back to the insurance part, I think that is something that has not been tackled yet. And again, Fairside, check them out, fairside.io. I think they do a really good job. I'm obviously doing a little consulting and advising with them. So again, this is not a show or anything, but
you know what? Do you mind like re-pinging that? I appreciate you. Like, this was something Drew put us in touch like a year ago, and we went back and forth. We couldn't get on a date, but long overdue to get them on the show. If they're still under us, we'd love to have them, and no pressure on the short notice, but it might be a good, if they're available and up for it, might be good to kind of continue the conversation with if they want to join us as a special guest here this week.
Yeah. I'll reach out to them. I know 4th of July is Friday, so I'm sure they could probably hop on last minute. But yeah, I mean, I just, I think all of us have had pretty bad experiences from Web 2 insurance. I mean, even, someone hit me in the car the other day. They didn't have insurance, and I had to pay everything because they didn't have insurance. So my premium that I pay has to supplement the lack of their insurance. And so I think that's a prime example of where Web3 kind of steps in. And with the on-chain transparency and everything that's happening, and the proper way of doing it, where again, my personal opinion, I think it's all just a scam anyway from a Web 2 side, using the Web 3 side of it to make it fair, aka fair side, is pretty cool. So definitely not a show, but yeah, I'll reach out to them and see if they're free this week, because it's such an interesting concept, and yeah, there's a lot more to dive into there.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate you, and appreciate our guests today. I didn't hit on market update. I didn't hit Hyperliquid, our favorite DEX. It's down a little bit on the day, but I think it actually wins. I think it becomes a big winner with the Robinhood news, the Coinbase news. We kind of flew over all those announcements. Robinhood chain, they announced perps, but I think you can go 3x long on Robinhood, and I think Coinbase lets you go up to 5x. So I still think hype keeps their existing base due to lower fees, and you can turn the lever bar up a lot more. And I think as more people, they start wetting their whistle and they hit on a 3x long, they're gonna often, right or wrong or degenerate or not, they look to where can I ratchet this thing up, and the answer right now appears to be hyperliquid. And then I mentioned it at the opening of the show, but I would be remiss if I didn't circle back to it because I didn't hit it on the market update. My Pingu bag not only up 60% on the week, up another 7-8% on the day, and more ETF news is warming up, heating up, coming soon. I was bearish meme coin ETFs when I first heard the idea. I'm quickly starting to change my mind as I get more new information, and I think we need to have a deeper conversation. I think the Solana ETF is right around the corner as well. So TradFi meets Onchain is going to be a topic, I think, for the next year plus, and glad to have a front row seat to it. JD, go ahead and get back in here, and then we'll let Joey get in with any final words, and we'll let y'all get out of here.
Cool, man. I don't have a sort of joke, but not a joke in the Jumbotron. I'm not really shilling. I don't make any money on this thing, but legit, guys, this has worked miracles for me, this stuff. Black seed oil, it's phenomenal. It's sort of a stress relief thing, but a lot of you guys recognize that like all of our health problems come back to stresses. So I'm telling you, like I had some skin issues, and obviously Web3 plus full-time job and kids, it's stressful. This stuff has changed my life. So just wanted to throw it out there. It's used for millenniums. I call it safe, but NFA DYOR. And good to meet you.
No, likewise. Good to connect. We talk health often here. Was not familiar with black seed oil, so I would check it out. Obviously, with everything, do your own research. None of us are medical advisors, financial advisors, or any of that stuff. But we like talking and exploring new ideas. Joey, appreciate you jumping into the co-host seat this morning. Always a pleasure. Appreciate the Stat Boy updates and all that you do. Any final words?
No, thank you guys for showing up and having a great day. It was really fun. Thanks, Cap, for letting me hang out in the co-host seat. I hope everyone has a beautiful day today.
Happy July, happy Canada Day for all those that celebrate. And if you haven't yet,
happy Bobby Bonilla Day.
Yes, happy Bobby Bonilla Day. For you sport heads out there, if you're not familiar, today is the day that Bobby Bonilla gets a little over $1 million every single year. He hasn't played baseball for probably, I don't know, a couple decades. Signed an incredibly low back in the day, and I think he gets that $1 million bonus check July 1st, all the way through like 2035 or something nutty. But yeah, happy Bobby Bonilla today, as well as happy Canada Day, and happy World's Coming On Chain day after Robinhood announcement and tokenizing everything. Appreciate all the chats for popping off. Kazi Kamikaze, I think that's Kazi in the chat, says, I think the word blockchain is going to stay. I think it will replace internet. Go search the blockchain will be the same. Instead of go search the internet, go chat GPT instead of Google it. You might be onto something there. I think some of our verbiage, our vernacular will go away, but maybe blockchain is the on-chain blockchain. There's some merit in that. I can see that sticking around because it is where we are. But with that, as my buddy Steve would say, I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful day, everyone.
Thanks for tuning into Coffee with Captain, powered by ApeCoin. We hope you enjoyed the show, and remember, nothing we discussed today is financial advice. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and we'll see you soon. Have a great day.
Welcome to the future.